Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. So the order of cornerbacks heading into the draft, well, that one actually may be the most contested. It is a very talented class. Virginia Tech's Caleb Farley, Alabama's Patrick Surtain, by the way, national champion with an NFL pedigree. And for some, it's actually J.C. Horn as the #1 cornerback coming out of South Carolina. Ryan Wilson says he's actually the most aggressive by far. So this is Ryan Wilson's official 2021 top 5 cornerback prospects. But do our other experts agree? Let's find out. Let's welcome in two former NFL players, Danny Kanell, Bryant McFadden. Chris Hassel was just with you. I am now taking over, so this is a fun party. B-Mac, we're going to start with you. As a former NFL cornerback, you get to go first. Ryan has Caleb Farley as #1. Do you agree?
Man, I got to wait and see, Amanda. I think when you look at Caleb, the potential is there. He's not as refined as some of the other corners we will highlight, but because of that, I think it makes him a very, very intriguing prospect. Only playing the cornerback position for 2 years, 2018 and 2019. In that span, 6 interceptions. If you really want to know who he is as a player, go back and watch 2019 Virginia Tech versus Notre Dame. Chase Claypool, Caleb Farley went toe-to-toe for 12 rounds. Threw punches, dodged some punches, made some punches. That was an unbelievable battle between those two said players. Then go back and look at Miami 2019, Virginia Tech versus Miami. An unbelievable game from Caleb Farley. He is the NFL prototypical corner, 6'2", over 200 pounds, has a nice plant drive, quick feet for his size. He locates the football on deep passes. He's able to locate the football and play the hands of the wide receivers. The thing that I have a concern with Caleb, playing off technique, sometimes he stays in his pedal too long. He allows the wide receivers to threaten his cushions, get up on his toes, and when they're even, they're leaving. I don't care how fast you are. But those are things he can work on at the next level, and he will work on. When I look at Caleb Farley, I was watching his tape. I called one of my former teammates there at Florida State, and Antonio Cromartie. I said, yo, Crow, have you watched Caleb Farley? He's like, yeah, I love his game. I said, I'm glad you said that because he reminds me a lot of you when you came out of Florida State, became a first-round selection to then the San Diego Chargers. Their game is very, very similar, not to mention the measurables as well. So I think if he runs well, I wouldn't be surprised to see Caleb be the first corner to come off the board.
All right, Danny, you're up next with Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama. Give us your breakdown on him, and do you think he could be as good as Farley or not quite so much?
Oh, I think he absolutely could. I think the floor is kind of set. I think this is one of those safer picks that'll be in the first round where you know what you're going to get. Now, the ceiling, how high it could go, there's, a couple issues. Top end speed, is it there? No, but what he lacks in top end speed, he makes up for with the instincts there. And there should be a new category. I mean, it used to be son of a coach was an asset, something that scouts looked at and they really admired. Now we're getting this whole era of son of former players, and they are all outstanding. You mentioned J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain. Of course, his dad was a longtime NFL player, made a few Pro Bowls, coached him in high school. But I love it. I think he's best served in man-to-man coverage, which is something you're going to be asked to do a lot in the NFL. 600 snaps he spent in press man coverage. But he's got great technique, great instincts. I think he's virtually certain success at the NFL. Now it's how much success he has. Does he make multiple Pro Bowls? Is he on a championship level team? A lot of that depends on his continued development, but I think he's one of the safer, more consistent players that you're going to see in the draft, which is a great option to have if you're in the need of a corner.
All right, Danny, you're up next with Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama. Give us your breakdown on him, and do you think he could be as good as Farley or not quite so much?
Oh, I think he absolutely could. I think the floor is kind of set. I think this is one of those safer picks that'll be in the first round where you know what you're going to get. Now, the ceiling, how high it could go, there's, a couple issues. Top end speed, is it there? No, but what he lacks in top end speed, he makes up for with the instincts there. And there should be a new category. I mean, it used to be son of a coach was an asset, something that scouts looked at and they really admired. Now we're getting this whole era of son of former players, and they are all outstanding. You mentioned J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain. Of course, his dad was a longtime NFL player, made a few Pro Bowls, coached him in high school. But I love it. I think he's best served in man-to-man coverage, which is something you're going to be asked to do a lot in the NFL. 600 snaps he spent in press man coverage. But he's got great technique, great instincts. I think he's virtually certain success at the NFL. Now it's how much success he has. Does he make multiple Pro Bowls? Is he on a championship level team? A lot of that depends on his continued development, but I think he's one of the safer, more consistent players that you're going to see in the draft, which is a great option to have if you're in the need of a corner.
All right, those three really grouped together. You see Tyson Campbell there from Georgia coming in at number 4. I want to know your breakdown of him. Do you think this is the good spot for him, that he's a little bit removed from those three, and does he go in the first round?
I'm surprised to see Tyson Campbell ahead of Asante Samuel Jr. And the reason why, I felt like he should have had a better career at UGA than what he did. He played pretty well. He did some good things, but he didn't make the plays that I thought he would make. In 23 starts, guys, he only had 1 interception. He had issues locating the football on deep passes. He didn't make the big-time plays that I thought he should have made based on his athleticism. But the size is undeniable. The speed is undeniable. He's a former track guy, ran track at American Heritage. Guess who else was on that defense who started opposite of him in high school? Pat Surtain Jr. So just imagine a high school defense having 2 6-foot corners that were all potential first-round selection when that time came. So I think the best is yet to come for Tyson Campbell, but seeing him above Asante Samuels based on the production, the collegiate production, I'm a bit surprised to see him number 4 and Asante Samuel Jr. number 5.
All right, we do get to talk about Asante Samuel Jr. right now. Another guy who had a dad as a former NFL corner. We've got 3 corners here, all dads that played in the NFL. He's also a Florida State kid. Shout out to both of you guys there. So you talked about why you don't think necessarily Tyson Campbell should be ahead of him. So B-Mac, give us your info, your insight into Asante Samuel Jr.
Just production, right? If you look at the tape, if you look at the numbers, Asante only played 8 games, 30 total tackles, 3 interceptions, 6 PBUs, right? And I said Tyson Campbell in 23 starts, only 1 interception. Asante made plays. He left a lot of plays on the football field. I really hope he improves on his ball skills, but this is a guy that loves the game of football. He reminds me a lot of Jair Alexander. Might not be the biggest corner on the football field, but he plays bigger than his size. He plays with a lot of heart, and he loves the tackle. If you really want to see who he is as a tackler, go back and look at, I think it was 2019 Florida State versus Boston College, and watch how he attacked A.J. Dillon, now the Green Bay Packers running back, who was a second-round selection last year, a guy who was around 235, 240. Watch Asante go out and take him down to the ground consistently in that matchup there in Tallahassee. Like I said, if you're a smaller corner, you better be instinctive, you better be feisty, and you better love the tackle. And he has all 3 things, and I think because of that, he should be a guy that will get into the first round. And he won't surprise me if he goes into the first round, because I've been watching him his entire collegiate career. He might surprise a lot of other naysayers or experts, but he's a do-it-all type of player. And I looked at the graphic. They said 5'10", around 180 pounds. No, he's now in the 190s, so I think that will improve his draft status as well.
All right, and just hearing from you, I feel like he's improving his draft stock right now, following his father's footsteps, trying to follow in your footsteps, B-Mac there. All right, so those are the corners. Let's talk about the safeties in this draft. According to Ryan Wilson, Trevor Moehrig out of TCU, followed by Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Now, that's a little interesting because he could play multiple positions. So let's talk about the safeties here. Danny, we're going to start with you with Trevor Moehrig. Right now, Ryan has him 27th overall to the Vikings. Is he the number 1 safety in this class?
I think he is. It's a little bit of a light class at safeties. The Jim Thorpe Award winner is the best one in the class. He played corner actually in high school, so he's pretty athletic. He's got a lot of range at that size, 6'2", can play that kind of center field, free safety type of position. I get a little bit worried about him in run support. See some of these nice tackles coming up. Sometimes he gets a little bit too aggressive in there. And then the other vulnerability he had was getting beat on double moves at times. But overall, pretty good player of the football, pretty good instincts. I do think he's the top of the class at the safety position, though.
All right, B-Mac, let's talk about the guy who I think is really interesting here, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame. This kid is very, very talented. He could play multiple positions. We call him a Swiss Army knife here. Would you play him at safety?
Yes, I would. I would play him at safety. I would put him in the box. He needs to be who Jeremy Chin was for the Carolina Panthers this year. Whoever drafts Jeremiah Owusu, they need to look at the tape from Jeremy Chin in a Carolina Panthers uniform and steal it and add it to your repertoire of defensive plays because he is that same player. Might not be as tall or as lengthy, but plays with the same fire, and he loves the game of football. Go back and watch him at Notre Dame. He did nothing but terrorize any offense he faced. In the box, in space, he does it all. Only a 1.5 sack this past year. But if you go back and look at 2019, he had 8.5 sacks. This is a guy that can put pressure on quarterbacks. This is a guy that can be a strength in coverage, and he forced turnovers, had 3 forced fumbles last year, and he does everything you would like a Swiss Army knife to do. And the thing about Swiss Army knives, you can kind of carry them anywhere, right? You can drive with them, you can go in the store with them, you can probably sneak them in sporting events. I don't know if that's legal or not, so forgive me if it's not. But you can take them anywhere, and they're always available. He's the same guy. If you go in your sub packages, you can put Jeremiah somewhere in the box or in the safety standpoint. If you go in your regular package, you can have him in space. You can have him cover in the slot. He does a lot, and he do those things well. So me personally, Jeremy Chin from Carolina is the same type player that Jeremiah could be for whatever team drafts him.
We love your analogies, B-Mac. That's why we have you on, to be honest. All right. Hamza Nasruddin, another Florida State guy. Danny, let's talk about him. 6'3", 213. We haven't talked about him a whole bunch here on HQ so far, so what do we need to know?
Well, with Hamza, he went with the Swiss Army knife. I'll go with a chess piece. You'll go a little bit different. Somebody who's a little bit versatile again, who really was, having a nice career at Florida State, was having a breakout season back in 2019, and then hurt his ACL. Now, he was able to come back in 2020 and showcase that he was healthy enough to play football. But I think the lead up to the draft, the medical evaluations, his 40 time, his personal workout, that'll be critical to just how high he goes. Now, I wouldn't be worried about it. I think you're going to get a player who's extremely versatile, extremely athletic, played wide receiver, played tight end, played linebacker, moved all over the place in high school. You saw flashes of brilliance at times, and I do think where he goes will determine his fate. He needs to get into a scheme, a defense. The Miami Dolphins would be a great one. The Patriots would be a great one. Somebody who's willing to move him around a little bit, to take advantage of some of that athleticism and knack for the football. So I love him. He's aggressive. He's not afraid to mix it up. I think this could be one of the better picks that maybe dropped a little bit due to injury, but the upside could just be unbelievable with this player.
All right. We mentioned it's a little bit of a weaker class when it comes to the safety, so we're only going to go through 4 of them. We're going to finish off with Javon Holland out of Oregon. B-Mac, he opted out. Is that affecting his draft stock whatsoever?
Usually it would, but when you watch his tape, it's hard to not love this kid. Man, in 2 years, 9 interceptions. He has the best ball skills, not just at the safety position, but when you look at all the DBs, he has the best ball skills. His freshman year, he just jumped on the scene, intercepted 5 passes. Sophomore year, had a bit of decline, only 4 interceptions. But he is a 5'2" player. He does it all. I mean, he also returned punts. I think he averaged over 15 yards per average on the punt return standpoint. He tackles well. Like I said, look how he attacks the football. And the thing that I love about Javon, he might not be the best athlete in the secondary. He might not be the best athlete among all the safeties that will be available, but he plays with proper angles. And when you play with proper angles, you don't have to be the best athlete. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the quickest, because those angles will always put you in positions to be in the hip pocket or whoever the pass catcher is you're guarding. And that's what you saw there in those highlights. He was always in the hip pocket because he plays with the right angle. He attacks the football with the right angle. This is a sleeper. I don't know exactly how fast he is. That's a concern of mine. I don't know about his top end speed. But if he surprises you with this 40 time, this is a name that will jump out on your screen during draft night. You're like, what? Who? Where? And then when you watch the tape, then you will say, oh, I see why. So outside the top end speed, not being the most athletic player in the secondary, my last concern, like you said, Amanda, I just wish he had more tape. It's only 2 years. He only played 2 years, but he opted out. And I understand why he opted out. I just wish he had more tape, but he's a very, very intriguing prospect, because when you turn on the tape that he has, it's hard to not love it.
Guys.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.